So welcome all students. A very good evening. Myself Emmanuel Sandeep, and I hope you have given your exam in a much better way. As you can observe the type of questions, these questions are not the hard or hardest questions. On a very mediocre level, I've given few questions, wherein I want you to learn in such a way that you should be, with respect to the subject called geography, you should be in a position to learn the statistics or the static part as well as the conceptual part, the analytical part as well. And apart from that, you need to have a better understanding as well about your current data as well. But I didn't cover or I didn't give you a question related to current updates, but I've given you topics which are related to your conceptual questions as well as static questions. Static questions, I mean that which are related to number data or anything which is supposed to be in where you are supposed to mug up and all. So if you have not given the test, please give the test. Please give it a try so that you will try to understand as to where you stand as well. Starting from the first question. So let's start with the first question now. Consider the following factors with regard to the availability of water. Availability of water is the first option. Landforms, climate, urbanization. Which of the geographical factors given above influence the distribution of population? So population has been distributed across different parts of the Earth's surface. And what might be the reason behind the distribution or the settlement of people across a location? The major question across this region is, what are the geographical factors? Which of the above are geographical factors that influence the settlement of people or the distribution of population? If you can generally recall, for this kind of questions, it doesn't require much about the subject knowledge, but we need a basic understanding or common sense to answer this question. So if you can properly observe, availability of water is one geographical factor. Landforms or the land area, the availability of land is one factor. Climate is one factor. And urbanization, which is also a factor. But among these, he's also asking about geographical factors which are given above. What are the geographical factors? The geographical factors are availability of the waters, landforms, and climate. But urbanization is considered to be as an economic factor rather than a geographical factor. So the answer should be 1, 2, 3. So where do you find it? 1, 2, 3 is second option. So the answer is 2. Okay. So, the only point where we are supposed to understand is, where do people settle? Let's go back to our history. Whether it be Indus Valley civilization, whether it be Mesopotamian civilization, all these civilizations are the one which have started settling across the banks of a river, isn't it? You have a land and you have water availability and you have a place or a river which is helpful for transportation as well. And apart from that, the climatical conditions are much more congenial for the settlement, isn't it? Due to which people try to settle across a region. So you can have proper vegetation over there because you have availability of water. You can have vegetation, you can have potable drinking water and everything, and you have transport facility. Due to which people try to settle across this region, and these three are considered to be as geographical factors. And later, if at all if people relish that place, now what do? They increase the amount of population in such a way that the density of the population across that region increases and the kind of developmental activities across that region increases with both primary, secondary, tertiary sector of industrial activities, and that led to formation of urbanization, which helps in advancement of that region, isn't it? So urbanization is the later factor, but the primary factor across this region is availability of the water, landform, and climate. Next, moving further, I hope you got the answer. Next, consider the following indices: Gender Inequality Index, Inequality Adjusted HDI or Human Development Index, Gender Developmental Index. Which of the above indices above are released by the UNDP? So if you can properly understand, I mean, there is no concept behind it, there is nothing like that. It's just a factual data where you are supposed to answer it. All these three are the correct answer, and you should, all the above. That is 1, 2, 3 are the indices which have been released by the UNDP. So there is nothing much detailed explanation for this because it's just a factual data. Okay. So I've given you a mix of both factual data as well as conceptual understanding, so that you'll have a better understanding of about the subject. And this is how your UPSC or any other state exams as well, the questions have been framed. And the level of questions gets increased over a period of time. Next question. Consider the following factors: raw material, labor, capital, power. Location of industries is influenced by the availability of which of the following factors given above? See, the first question talks about the settlement of population, and now it's talking about the location of industry. So to set up an industry, what are the prerequisites across a region? So do we require raw material for setting up an industry? Yes. So any region where you get raw material, or if your raw material is much more closer to that region, to that place, it's much more comfortable. So let's say now you talk about sugarcane industry, sugar making industry. So where do you find this sugar making industry? Wherever you find sugar cane plantation, or let's say you find rice mills. Where do you find these rice mills? Wherever you find paddy growing regions, you'll have rice mills. I mean, you cannot have rice mills across a different region, which are not suitable for growing of paddy, right? So in such a way, raw material is the most important thing. Labor, yes, people willing to work. I mean, you require different kinds of people to work across an industry. Labor is required, capital is required, power is required, isn't it? All the four are important for location of an industry, any industry. And apart, not only these four, there are many other which are required, isn't it? Apart from capital and power, labor, raw material, is that the only thing? I mean, no, you need to have a land properly, isn't it? Okay, land is also very much important, isn't it? I mean, you have a capital, but you don't have a banking facility, and that's also a problem, isn't it? So in this manner, you do have other forms of other factors which influence the location of industry. But among these, yes, among these four, all these four are important. And this is again not a much conceptual form, but it is a factual form of question. Next, the fourth question. Consider the following factors: latitude, Himalayan mountains, distribution of land and water, distance from the sea. Which of the factors related to the location and relief given above will determine the climate of India? So the topic is about climate of India. Latitude, Himalayan mountains, distribution of land and water, distance from the sea. Which of the factors related to the location and relief given above will determine the climate of India? See, let's dwell into it and try to understand in a much better manner. See, let's say now you are in Hyderabad, or you are in a nearby place to Hyderabad, or somewhere in Andhra Pradesh, or somewhere in Telangana, or somewhere across Karnataka. And as you properly observe those locations, all these locations, the weather conditions and the climatical conditions, I assume that you are aware of it as to what is weather and climate. I'm not going to get into those things. So the climatical conditions across that region differ from one region to another region. I mean, let's say now the climatical conditions of Delhi is different from Hyderabad. Is it so? Why? See, the distance from the sea between Hyderabad and Delhi is different, isn't it? Delhi is much farther from sea or ocean, while Hyderabad is slightly closer to the oceanic region. And if that is the condition, do we find any difference of temperatures? Yes, we do find difference in temperature, and so that we will have a difference in climatical conditions as well. And distribution of land and water. See, to any location, if that location is far off from a water body, the amount of heat will be slightly higher, and the rate of cooling of the land will be slow. Let's say now, let's compare in such a way that, you'll be having a similar kind of question as we move forward. See, the temperature across Visakhapatnam and temperatures of Hyderabad. During daytime, in summer months, I repeat, during daytime, in summer months, the temperature across Hyderabad and Vizag is almost similar, ranging somewhere around 35 and 38 degrees Celsius. 35 and 38 degrees Celsius. But, the reason I've taken this Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam is because both these cities will be almost in a similar latitudes. That means if it is similar latitudes, the climatical conditions should be almost similar, isn't it? But Hyderabad is far off from a water body, that is sea, but Visakhapatnam is much closer to a water body. Due to this, the nights across Visakhapatnam are cooler than Hyderabad. Hyderabad has got warmer temperature during nights, while Visakhapatnam has got lower temperatures during nights. In the daytime, almost similar kind of temperatures, which is ranging with a difference of 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. But during nights, the difference of temperatures ranges somewhere around 5 to 6 or even more degrees difference. Why is it so? It's just because of the distance between the place of Visakhapatnam to the water body, Hyderabad to the water body. So in that manner, yes, distance from the sea plays a role. And now, distribution of land and water. Again the same. You have Visakhapatnam is on a land, Hyderabad is on a land, but the water body for Visakhapatnam is much closer, but the water body to Hyderabad is much farther. So obviously the amount of temperatures are getting differed. If that is so, the average of weather conditions of a day are being differed. If that is getting differed, what happens? The climatical conditions also getting differed. And apart from that, let's take another example. You are let's say you are across Jubilee Hills checkpost, across the traffic signals. The amount of temperatures across that region is quite high. But the temperatures across Gandipet, if you have been to somewhere around close to Gandipet, the amount of temperature is slightly lower. Why? The regions of Jubilee Hills checkpost is surrounded by land, but as you are moving towards that Gandipet region, you have a water body close to it. So what happens? Again, the distribution of land and water, or the proximity towards the land and water, is playing a role in defining your climatical conditions. Even though they are much closer, the proximity of distribution of land and water defines your temperatures of the day or that region. Next, in a similar manner, the next point, Himalayan mountains. See what happens with regard to Himalayan, forget about Himalayan mountains. Mountains are there, and if because of this presence of mountains, the northern India is slightly cooler or colder, but southern part of India, which is devoid of such high altitudinal mountains, has got a difference of temperatures, and that too we have a water bodies on all these three sides, because of which southern part of India or the peninsular part of India has got difference of temperatures, but the northern parts of India has got a difference of temperatures. And apart from that, this Himalayan mountains is also playing another form of role, which I'll try to tell you as I move further. And next, latitude. 0 degrees, where your angle of sun's insolation is almost very much perpendicular, and the amount of temperatures are also very high across your equatorial region. And as you move towards your poles, the angle of sun's insolation is not perpendicular to the Earth's surface, and the angle of sun's insolation is almost slanting, is less than the angle of 90, due to which if the angle of sun's insolation is getting deferred, the amount of temperature is also getting deferred, because the sun's radiation is getting deferred. Because of this change in sun's radiation, the amount of temperatures or the climatical conditions of a region are also getting deferred. Now, which of the factors related to location and relief given above will determine the climate of India? Isn't it? Yes, latitude plays a role in defining or determining the climatical conditions of India, because India as a country has got a difference of latitudes. India, the mainland part of India starts around 8 degrees 4 minutes north latitude, extended until 37 degrees 6 minutes 6 points north latitudes, isn't it? So you have almost 30 degrees latitudes which have been extended. So if that is so, 8 degree 4 minutes 4 point, 8 degree 4 points is, this latitude is 4 minutes 4 points north is a latitude which is much closer to 0 degrees or equator, while 37 degrees is much farther from equator and is also farther moving away from Tropic of Cancer as well, isn't it? So the amount of temperatures between the regions of Kanyakumari and the regions of Leh Ladakh do differ. So latitude is playing a role. Himalayan mountains, with respect to India, what happens is India is receiving winds from southern part of India as well as northern parts of India. And in the northern part of India, or to the north of India, you have cool to cold Siberian region, where you get northeast winds or northeast trade winds, which are slightly cooler, because they are coming from a landmass which is much cooler. So as they are moving from a cooler landmass, it always brings good amount of cool breeze into the northern parts of India. But that cool breeze has been obstructed across these regions of Himalayan mountains, and we can very much sure we can say that yes, this Himalayan mountains are playing in such a way that they are acting as a barricade by not letting the cool Siberian winds to enter into India, and making sure that the northern parts of India are making into a coldest part of India. So it's not, you have a much convenient weather conditions and weather conditions across the northern parts of India, across many major parts of northern parts of India. The only reason is because of the presence of Himalayas. They're acting as a barricade. And next, distribution of land and water, as I told you, and the distance from the sea. All these four factors are playing a role in making sure that climate of India have been determined. So the answer is all the above four. Next, match the following regarding the type of agriculture and the region. So again, a factual question. Australian downs, America and Canada are prairies, Argentina is pampas, South Africa wells, and you have New Zealand Canterbury plains, isn't it? You have different kinds of steppes across your southern parts of Europe and southern parts of Russian continent. So which of the pairs given above are matched properly? All the pairs have been matched properly. Match the following regarding the iron ore deposits. Again, a factual question. Name of the region, state. So Bailadilla, where do you find? Let's say now, easiest thing, from this regions, Kurnool is Andhra Pradesh, isn't it? Yes, Kurnool, Andhra Pradesh. And let's say now you talk about Ratnagiri, Maharashtra. These two are actually properly been matched. Kudremukh is not even Karnataka actually. Okay, fine. So now Baidila is in Odisha. So among these, only which of the pairs given above are matched properly? Only 3 and 4 have been matched properly. The rest are not been matched properly. Again, a factual question. Consider the following crops: paddy, cotton, maize, jowar, tobacco. The best suited crops that were grown in black soils. A chapter of your Indian geography, soils. So you have different kinds of soils. So among these crops, which are most suitable for in black soils? The best suited crops are cotton, maize, jowar, tobacco, but not paddy, right? So among this, yes, only 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the best suited crops are cotton, maize, jowar, tobacco. Done. And next question. Match the following regarding the types of droughts and their description. Name of the drought and description. So meteorological drought, agricultural drought, hydrological drought. Which of the pairs given above are matched properly? Okay. See, generally we listen about this thing called drought, isn't it? And these are very much observed across this Indian landmass as well. Not only India, across different parts of our Earth's body. But what is the problem? See, there are different kinds of droughts: meteorological, agricultural, hydrological. What is this? And which form of drought occurs first, and which form of drought occurs later? See, what is drought generally? Any region which has got a deficit of rainfall than the average is considered to be as a drought. I repeat, any region which has got a deficit of rainfall than the average rainfall of that specific region. See, any region will have an average rainfall based on your periods of all these years. They'll try to calculate the average rainfall of this region in this period of time is so and so. Now, if at all, if the average rainfall has been reduced and now the amount of rainfall is less, and that is now considered to be as a drought. And that specific drought, I repeat, and that specific drought is now considered to be as meteorological drought. That is considered to be as meteorological. Climatologically, rainfall occurring across that region has been reduced because of different factors, because of different reasons, and that led to meteorological drought. Now, so a prolonged period of inadequate rainfall. Yes, very true. Okay. That meteorological drought now, that will lead to what? That will lead to immediately reducing the availability of moisture in the soil. And if the amount of moisture in the soil has been reduced, the sowing time will be deferred. If the sowing has been deferred, the amount of harvest or the quantity and the amount of time period of the harvesting time period gets deferred. If that is getting deferred, the agricultural output is also getting deferred. And now what do we say? It's considered to be as agricultural drought, where the amount of moisture content is less in the soil because of lower rainfall. And now, if it has been prolonged for few years, for a specific period of time, let's say now, in the month of June, July, there should be good amount of rainfall because that's a time period of monsoons in India. If the amount of rainfall across the region is not adequate, or it's not equivalent to the normal rainfall of that specific region, what happens? The amount of moisture content in the soil reduces. So the farmer the farmers reduces its, farmers delays their sowing of seeds. If that has been delayed, the harvest has also been delayed, isn't it? So apart from that, until then it's fine. Until then it's fine. Now, if at all, if this agricultural drought, if this meteorological drought has been continued, even in the months of August, September, October, for about 5 to 6 months. Now, the amount of water availability across the stored regions, storage regions or reservoir regions, drastically gets reduced. If that is getting reduced, the basic livability of that region, of the people of that region, gets disturbed. The industrial activity of that region gets disturbed, because water is a major important amenity for our living. So now that is now considered to be as hydrological drought, where the availability of the water in different storage and reservoirs gets immensely impacted. And in such a way, now among these pairs which are above are properly matched. All the things have been properly been matched, all three. So the answer is 4. So now, to answer this question, the only point you are supposed to understand is, what are the different forms of drought? What is a drought and what are the different forms of drought? And I mind you, if you are preparing for UPSC or any other state PSCs at the highest levels of state PSC exams, please do work on this drought at a mains level, because you'll find good number of questions in both prelims and even as well as mains. And it's a very important topic, okay? Because these are this type of questions, questions related to drought have been asked on a regular basis. Again, completely a factual data. Consider the following rivers: Subarna Rekha, Baitrani, Brahmani, Vamsadhara and Penna. The east flowing, which of the following are east flowing rivers? I beg your pardon. The questioning is not fine over here. Fine, that's all fine. So east flowing rivers are all the above are east flowing rivers: Subarna Rekha, Baitrani, Brahmani and Vamsadhara. Vamsadhara in Andhra Pradesh, Brahmani, Baitrani, Subarna Rekha in Odisha, Penna in AP. Isn't it? So all these 5 are east flowing rivers. Consider the following statements regarding mica production in India. Mica is mainly used in electrical and electronic industries. Very true. Mica can be split into very thin sheets which are tough and flexible. The high quality mica is obtained in a belt in the lower Hazaribagh plateau of Karnataka. Which of the statements given above are incorrect? Hazaribagh is not in Karnataka, and that too, isn't it? Highest quality of mica is obtained in belt in the lower Hazaribagh plateau of Karnataka. Hazaribagh is true, okay, fine. Mica is available, but it's not in Karnataka, and incorrect is. So the answer should be 1 and 2, and this. So, incorrect is B. Third one is incorrect. Okay, and within Andhra Pradesh as well, you have one of the finest quality of mica. Actually, apart from Hazaribagh, within Hazaribagh regions, you find mica which is of higher quantity, but highest quality across the world. You'll find it in Nellore district of Andhra Pradesh. Next one. Consider the following statements. The Himalayan ranges show a succession of vegetation from tropical to tundra. Very true. Deodar is highly valued endemic species that grows mainly in the western part of the Himalayan range. Yes, very true. The northern slopes of Himalayas carry a thicker vegetation cover, because of relatively higher precipitation than the drier south-facing slopes. It's a wrong statement. See, I mean, if this is your Indian landmass, you have Himalayas over here, and these are your northern slopes. This should be your southern slopes, isn't it? This is northern slopes, this is your southern slopes. And what is the statement saying? Northern slopes of Himalayas carry a thicker vegetation cover because of the relatively higher precipitation than the drier south-facing slopes. No. Let's say now these are your Himalayan mountains. Let's assume that these are southern and these are north. Because of the southwest monsoons which enter into India, you have a good amount of vegetation across this region along the southern slopes, while the northern slopes are considered to be the rain shadow zones, wherein the amount of precipitation is very, very less. I mean, let's take an example of the Ladakh region, which is considered to be the cold desert. Why? Because it's on the northern slopes of Himalayas. So the amount of rainfall across that region is very, very less. And if the amount of rainfall is less, obviously the vegetation is also less. But this statement says it's the northern regions has got vegetation, and that's a wrong statement. So the answer should be, find out the incorrect statement. The incorrect statement is third one. The answer should be 3. The next one. Consider the following statements regarding the seismic waves. P waves are body waves that travel through all 3 phases, solid, liquid and gas of matter. True. S waves are surface waves that only travel through solid material. Love waves are generally the first waves to arrive at the seismograph, followed by Rayleigh waves. I mean, this is a wrong option. Love waves are not the first one, which are P waves are the one which arrive at the Earth's surface at the first. S waves are surface waves that only travel through solid material. I mean, S waves, they only travel through solid material. That's true. I mean, even this one, S waves are the surface waves. No, they are not surface waves. S waves are also body waves. See, there are two body waves, that is P and S waves. So, of which P wave is one, the S waves are the one, but of which S waves do not travel through molten material, but P waves are the one which travel through molten material. Which of the statements given above is correct? Only one is correct. So, the answer is A. Okay, if someone given, if you have opted in a A form, A, it's true. C is not the correct answer. Okay, it's a typo error. So S waves are surface waves. It's not surface waves; they are body waves, and they only travel through solid materials. That's true, but this is a wrong. This is a wrong wording. You have L wave and R wave as well, Love waves and Rayleigh waves, which are considered to be as surface waves. And they are not the first waves which are appearing onto the Earth's surface or onto the land. Okay. Next, moving further. The western cyclonic disturbance are the weather phenomenon of the winter months. Brought in by westerly flow from the Mediterranean region. The western cyclonic disturbances usually influence the weather of the north and southern regions of India. Western cyclonic disturbances usually influence the weather of north and southern regions of India. They do influence the northern part, but they do not influence your southern part of India. Western cyclonic disturbances are weather phenomena of winter months brought in by the westerly flow from the Mediterranean region. This is a true statement. Which of the statements given above are incorrect? Only one, only two, both, none. Okay. Second one is an incorrect statement. So if you can properly observe this question, it's again a conceptual question which you are supposed to remember. Let's assume that you have a water body called Mediterranean Sea over here. You have African continent over here. Let's assume you have an Indian landmass over here. Now what happens is, the westerly winds or the western cyclonic disturbances coming from the Mediterranean region move in this direction, which have been disturbed by the nor'westers, and these disturbed winds, which are considered to be, which are moving in a westerly direction, which are considered to be as westerly winds or westerly cyclonic disturbances, they have been obstructed by the Himalayan mountains across this region, and because of which you have good amount of cooler to, not even cooler, colder temperatures prevailing across your southern slopes of Himalayas, especially during the winter months. And that led to heavy amount of snowfall as well. I mean, as of now, they might have started over here. So the northern part of India enters into a chilling kind of weather conditions across the region. And the chilling weather conditions is one of the major reasons is because of the western cyclonic disturbances from the regions of Mediterranean waters, which have been obstructed by Himalayas, leading to this presence of chilling or cooler temperatures across your northern parts of India. And the statements above in this two statements, the second statement is a wrong statement, the first statement is a correct statement. Okay, so that's the answer for 13th question. Next one, consider the following statements regarding the Lakshadweep Islands. The entire Lakshadweep Island group is built of coral deposits. Very true. It's a coral, they are considered to be as coral islands. Amandivi, the largest island in the Lakshadweep Islands? No, I mean it's Androt Island. The entire group of islands is broadly divided by the 10-degree channel, north of which is the Mini Islands and south of which is the M.O.C.K Islands. No. So the entire group of islands is broadly divided by 10-degree channel. No, it's not. The Andaman and Nicobar have been divided by 10-degree channel, isn't it? The Andaman Islands and the Nicobar Islands have been separated by 10-degree channel. That's not the case for Lakshadweep Islands. So these two statements, which are the statements given above are correct? These two are the wrong statements, only this is the right statement. Okay. Moving further, the Kashmir Himalayas are famous for Kareva formations. The Kareva means, see, in the northern parts of India along the slopes of Himalayas, I mean, as we have discussed, there's good amount of snowfall, and this snow during summer months melts off, and as it is melting, it undergoes a process called weathering and erosion and transports good amount of soil. And those soil, the soils which have been weathered and have been transported by the snow movements, or that's nothing but glacial topography or glacial movements. Now those soils are considered to be as Kareva soils. I mean, if you can properly recall, within the regions of the present day Kashmir regions and all, you have a good amount of Kareva soils, and these are best suited. I mean, the saffron growing regions are the one which are observed across this Kareva soils, which are most fertile. I mean, because from the hilly regions along, I mean, where you have a good amount of organic debris of the past have been transported because of the snow or the glacial movement, and the soils have been getting deposited, and those deposited soils are considered to be as Kareva soils. Coming back, Kareva means, okay, the glacial lakes, the mountain passes, the thick deposits of glacial clay, mountain tribes. Okay, the only answer is 3. So all these other 1, 2, 4 are the wrong statements. Karevas means the thick deposits of glacial clay. I mean, the soils which have been formed because of their depositions of glacial movements. the snow after getting melt off, weathers the rock and other debris across the region, transports the soil, and those soils getting settled across the foothills, which have been named as Karewa soils. The best fishing grounds in the world exist mainly in the zones of cold currents, warm currents, warm and cold currents. It is in the west coastal zones where neither too warm nor cold currents exist. See, anyway, the answer is warm and cold currents meet. I mean, they're asking you about the best fishing grounds across the world. Even if you are not thorough with the subject, at times you can answer this type of questions, because see, for a fish to survive, the water should not be neither very warm nor cold. It should be mediocre. So where do you find mediocre waters? Along the regions where you have the confluence of both these things. So that's one thing. And apart from that, you don't have that in statements. Apart from that, any region which has got a shallow water body, any region that has got shallow water body, what does it mean? The depth of the oceanic surface or the sea surface regions is less. This shallow regions. What happens now? The sunlight penetrates into the waters and reaches the bottom of the sea, because this sea is shallow and you have good amount of plantation. The moment you have good amount of plantation, you have good amount of animals to live in, and that's nothing but your fauna. Flora is there, you have fauna. So where do you find cold current, warm current meets? You have, that's a very much congenial conditions for a fish to survive. Along with that, shallow water bodies, and only then you have a very good fishing grounds. I mean, the major fishing grounds across your eastern parts of, the western parts of Europe, the eastern parts of Northeast America, the Newfoundland Bay, or the regions of Japan and the northeastern parts of China. So all these regions are famous and the best fishing grounds across the world, where the volume of the amount of fish surviving across that region and the amount of fish catch is very high across that region. Next, the places near the sea level. See, for that kind of questions and even the earlier other questions, you need to have a subject clarity. See, if I want to tell you about this geography as a subject, it's not a subject that you just learn it, read it and learn it at times. You need to have a conceptual clarity. A fine conceptual understanding is very important at times to write your main exam as well. Because for your preliminary, at times you can move further, but when you are putting down when you're penning down for your mains, only when you have a much clarity on the topic. See, let's talk about a single topic called drought, or even this fishing now. You can discuss about this topic for about an hour or so, more than an hour, because the kind of interrelated topics, there are many other interrelated topics enter into this play, and those are also important. And to understand all these things, you need to have a very fine understanding of the concepts. So make sure that you have a much better understanding on the concepts. See, what we were being trained until now is read the subject from books, attempt the subject. Nah, it's not just reading and attempting. Let's say now there are few subjects in your UPSC exam preparation or other state ESC. Let's take an example like polity and history. These are the two subjects which you do not require much conceptual understanding. You need to have a much better understanding on, analytical skills is required for your polity at times, but most of the time facts are the most important thing which you are supposed to remember applied. Remember, applied. Even to history, facts, facts, facts. But for subjects like geography and economy, it's completely interlinked. Let's take, you talk about a chapter of climate of India. Climate of India is again interrelated to population of India. If physiography of India is the first chapter, population of India is the last chapter. These two chapters have been interlinked. And there are concepts which try to help each other. So in this manner, you need to have a much broader understanding of the subject. Okay. See, the kind of questions which have been given as of now is a very basic questions for you to just to understand and all. But as we move further, the complexity of the questions increases as well. The places near the sea level record higher temperatures than the places situated at higher elevations because the atmosphere is directly heated by incoming solar radiation. The water bodies absorb more radiation than the terrestrial bodies. True. Wrong. Even this is wrong. The atmosphere is indirectly heated by terrestrial radiation from below. Very true. None of the above. Okay. Places near the sea level record higher temperatures than the places situated at higher elevations. See, let's say now there is a place, let's take an example like, okay, Chennai and Ooty. They're almost in Tamil Nadu in a similar kind of latitude and extent. But the amount of temperature across Chennai is quite higher than Ooty. Why? Across Chennai is a place where across you're at a lower altitudes, while Ooty is at a higher altitudes. What happens is, as you move into higher altitudes, into greater heights, the temperature decreases. Why? There is a phenomenon called terrestrial radiation. The ray of the sunlight falls onto the Earth's surface. Now the Earth's surface heats up. The Earth's surface heats up, and now it releases its heat. And because of that heat, the air molecules across in the atmosphere gets heated up, and now you have temperature within the atmosphere. So the statement, the atmosphere is indirectly heated by the terrestrial radiation. It's not the sun's insolation which is heating your atmosphere. See, just your sun rays will not come and hit your gaseous molecules within the atmosphere and these gaseous molecules heats up. No. The ray of the light comes, falls onto the surface of the earth. Now the surface of the earth heats up and then it releases its heat. Now the air molecules close to the earth's surface absorbs that heat and you have higher temperatures very much at a lower altitudes. As you move into higher altitudes, as you climb onto the top, the amount of temperature decreases. So the places near the sea level record higher temperatures than the places situated at the higher elevation because it's just because of change in the terrestrial radiation. It's just simple. Change in the amount of terrestrial radiation between the higher altitudes and the places close to the sea. I mean, places close to the sea are very much close to the at a very lower altitudes, mean sea level. But this is at a higher elevations. So it's just because of change in the terrestrial radiation. So the answer is 3. The next one, 18. Consider the following landforms: pools, sinkholes, lapides, stalactites. Erosional landforms of the karst topography are. What is karst? Nothing but limestone. The limestone topography. The karst topography. Pools, sinkholes, lapides, stalactites. These three, the first three, are erosional. The erosional landforms. But stalactites are depositional. The depositional landforms. I mean, they're all part of karst. Even this is also part of karst. But it's a depositional landform. So, which of the following are erosional landforms? That is 1, 2, 3. So, the answer is 2. Next one, Consider the following statements regarding the rocks. Igneous rocks are formed from solidifying of material of magma and lava. Very true. Sedimentary rocks are formed as a result of depositions of fragments of rocks by exogenous process. True. The metamorphic rocks are formed out of existing rocks undergoing recrystallization. It's also true. Which of the statements given above are correct? All the 3 statements are correct. Okay, all the above. I mean, this is a part of your geomorphology. I assume you have read this topic. If you have not read, please do read it. I mean, you have books like Maji Hussain and you have G.C. Leong and all. You may read this topic. Okay. Meander. Okay, the meander is not a landform but is only a type of channel pattern. Yes, very true. The meanders grow into deep loops and are left as oxbow lakes. Very true. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Both A and R are true, and R is the proper expression of A. Okay, and R true or R is not the proper expression of A. All A is true. Okay, the first statement is true. So A and R are true. R is the proper explanation of A. So where do you find this? Within your river topography. The earlier one is karst limestone topography, and this is river topography. So what happens as the river is flowing? Because of the swiftness of the flow of water flow, and because of the swiftness and the periodicity of it, what happens? At times, the river shifts its path and moves in this direction. And this portion of the landmass left, and this becomes your main channel. This is your earlier channel. This channel pattern is now turned into another pattern. So now this portion of the landmass has been left out, and that is now leading to formation of oxbow lakes. So meanders are the one which are observed within your young rivers. The best example is the Ganga in the northern parts of India, which is considered to be the young river, where you find good amount of oxbow lakes, even the present days across regions of Bihar as well. Let's take an example like Godavari, which is considered to be the oldest river or a mature river. You don't have formations of oxbow lake as of now. But if you can properly deep dive into it, the Kolleru Lake of Andhra Pradesh was considered to be the oxbow lake of this river Godavari of the past. But the channel of Godavari has shifted, has changed over a period of time. It's not 1 or 2 years or 100 years. It's millions of years. So the channel has been shifted. So, oxbow lakes do form across different parts of the river. But in India, as of now, Ganga being the youngest river, flowing for longer distances, and from a higher elevation to a lower elevations, because of a slope of the landmass or the slope of the flow is also steep, due to which you find good amount of oxbow lake formations. Okay. Now moving further. Consider the following. Equator receives a comparatively more insolation than the tropics. Okay, true. Insolation is the solar radiation energy that was scattered by the earth. Okay. The amount of heat received by different parts of the earth is always the same. No. The amount of heat received by the different parts of the earth is always the same. No, that's very, it's not true. Insolation in the solar radiation energy that was scattered by the earth. See, over here it says earth, and over here it says insolation in the solar radiation. What is generally insolation? Incoming solar radiation. And that is not a part of your earth body, isn't it? So what happens to the earth? Earth releases this thing called terrestrial radiation, isn't it? Terrestrial radiation. But this is your incoming solar radiation. That is insolation. So again, this statement is also a false statement. The equator receives comparatively more insolation than the tropics. Yes. It doesn't mean that incoming solar radiation is receives comparatively more insolation than the tropics. What happens is, let's say, yeah, it's something like this. Let's assume this is your Earth. Now, the solar radiation from the sun. See, I mean, if you want to give me as an example, the sun's rays during the daytime, between early hours of the day, mid of the day, and to the evening, the incoming solar radiation, the insolation from the sun, is same. The rays which have been exhibiting out of the sun is same, but the amount of heat or the amount of temperatures prevailing on the Earth's surface is getting differed. Why? There is nothing like high, sim, and all for sun. It is because of the angle of sun's insolation falling onto that specific surface, which is differing the temperatures of that place. See, during the early hours of a day, the angle of sun's insolation is slanting. So the amount of energy or the amount of temperatures absorbed by the Earth's surface is less. But during the midday of the during the noon, what happens? The angle of sun's insolation is properly vertical or perpendicular, and due to which the amount of absorption is more, and the temperature gets increased over a period of time. Again, the evening hours, the angle of sun's insolation is slanting. The amount of absorption by the Earth is less, the amount of temperature is again less. So the same applies over here now. The equator receives comparatively more insolation than the tropics. No, tropics do receive the same. Equator do receive the same sun's insolation. But the angle of Earth's surface across the tropics and across the equator do differ. So due to which the amount of temperature gets differed. Which of the statements these are incorrect? All the above statements are incorrect. I mean, you may get confused across this first statement. But what happens is, let's say now the equator receives comparatively more, forget about it. The equator consists of higher temperatures than tropics. The statement is true. But what is trying to tell you? Equator receives comparatively more insolation. Nah. Whether it be equator, whether it be tropics, whether it be polar region, the incoming solar radiation or the rays coming from the sun is one and the same. But the angle of the surface which it is receiving, across that receiving region, the surface angle or the angle it is falling, the ray of the sun angle falling onto the surface is getting differed, due to which the temperature differs. So the insolation is one and the same. So which among the following are incorrect? All are incorrect. The next one, consider the following statements regarding the physiographic divisions of India. The width of Himalayan mountains decreases from west to east. Yes, very true. Southern part of the western coast is called Konkan. Southern part of western coast is called Konkan. No, it is Malabar, isn't it? Across the Maharashtra region, you call it as Konkan coast. But this is southern part is Malabar coast. Which of the statements given above are incorrect? Second one is incorrect. So the answer should be B, only 2. Consider the following statements about silk production in India. India is the second largest producer of silk in the world. Okay. India is the only country producing all 5 known commercial varieties of silk. Very true. I mean, you have this silks like eri, mulberry, muga, tussar, and oak tussar. All these 5, eri, muga, mulberry, tussar, oak tussar, all these 5 are a part of your, 5 known commercial varieties of silk produced in India. Which of the statements given above are correct? All are correct. So both. Consider the following statements about the silk production in India. India is the second largest producer of the silk. Sorry. Oh, I'm done. Fine. Silk production in India. I mean, there is a typo error. I mean, you must be having another question. A similar kind of question is there on 24 and 25. Okay. There is some typo error over here. Check it from the other side. So that's all for now. Yeah. The question was related to teak forest. I mean, teak dominant tree species among which one of the following types of forests in India? Teak a dominant tree species which is found in across which are the following forest types? So that question has not been included over here within your slides. So for that, if you have a question of that, the answer is A. The teak, a dominant tree species, is found in tropical moist deciduous forest. That's all for now. Thank you.